Have you heard?
Have you heard?
Have you heard?
Martin University has made a quality education accessible, and now I can fast track and finish my degree in no time.
Applicable, so I can start earning and working in my career field while finishing my degree.
And affordable by lowering tuition costs as much as 45%.
So I can earn my degree debt-free.
Join us at the all-new Martin U. Don't wait. Register for spring classes now.
Hello, happy Friday and happy New Year. Welcome to Let's Talk Live with Martin U, the live podcast bringing much needed community conversations to the table. Let's Talk Live is an exciting, reverent, and educational podcast that digs deep into our current topics, community involvement, and stories of our alumni that only Martin University can provide. I am Montia King, and joining me today is Kamille Ware, NCREI's Public Health Coordinator. Thank you for joining me today.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
So, Happy New Year for starters, and thank you for joining me. I want to get right into it. I know that everybody here at Martin University is going to be jam-packed this year with new projects, ideas, campaigns, programs, and I just want to get everyone to see who you are, get to know about a little bit about you, the program of NCREI, what you do, all that good stuff. So to start off, tell me a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you do professionally.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Kamille Ware. I serve as the Public Health Coordinator for the National Center for Racial Equity and Inclusion. Before I got to Martin, I recently graduated in May of 2022 from Marian University with double degrees in public health and sociology with a minor in social work. So I did my undergrad there. I plan to begin my master's this fall, going back for a master's in public health, which is kind of what led me here to Martin to serve in my role. A little bit about myself. I guess my passion for healthcare came from when I was a child. So growing up, when I was born, I got diagnosed with sickle cell disease. So growing up, I spent a lot of my time in the healthcare system and kind of seeing the ins and outs of it. And from that, I kind of learned what I wanted to change early on in the healthcare system, if that makes sense, as far as accessibility goes, especially for the Black community. So that fueled my passion for healthcare, which has gotten me where I am today. So a lot of the work that I do in the NCREI is about health equity, specifically for minority communities in the 46218 community, which has fueled a lot of my projects that I've began while I'm here in Martin.
I never knew that you had sickle cell. It really does explain the newsletters that we receive. I want to say at least once a week on new awarenesses and things like that. So with you raising awareness like that, how does that impact your role?
It's very, very impactful. I didn't want my role to be traditional in a sense. Like I didn't, as broad as public health is, I of course wanted to keep the broadness in my role, but I wanted to make sure that I was hitting on a lot of things that a lot of us don't really know about. So growing up, of course, a lot of people, especially that weren't Black, didn't know what sickle cell disease was. So I want to take that passion and my experiences from that to kind of fuel that with other topics. So how you said with the newsletters, I make it a point to try to hit on especially different diseases that people don't usually hear about, like lupus, like multiple sclerosis, PCOS, just different things that really disproportionately affect us that we have no idea about.
Nice. And why Martin University? I know that you could have went to any organization, any non-profitable organization or corporate America to help raise awareness. Why Martin University?
Yes, so first and foremost, Martin was very close to home for me. So I was born and raised here in Indianapolis, on the west side, not too far from downtown. I went to high school here, I went to college here. And of course, it only made sense for me to begin my career here after I graduated. And the difference with Martin is that it gave me the creative freedom that I haven't really ever had with any other position to make the position what I wanted, especially within the NCREI. So a lot of my, time is spent going to, community events, speaking to those in the community to see what they really need and what they want to see from Martin, how Martin could better assist them from a health standpoint. And a lot of other positions didn't, give me the freedom to do so. It was more so of here's what we need you to do, but I'm able to go out and analyze what the community needs from me.
I know when you start a role, people ask you or you ask them, what are your goals for me in this role? From what do you expect me out of the first month, its first 6 months, and a year? What goals do you have in this role within your first year of being here at Martin University? Do you have for NCREI and public health and raising awareness and things of that matter?
Yes. So I have a few. Some of them I'm actually kicking off right now. So a huge one is when I started in Martin, I think my third, fourth month here, I began a public health summit series, which is a quarterly conference that kind of brings those diseases to light that we, especially in the Black community, aren't as educated about. My first one was in September, and it was about lupus. So a strong goal of mine is to keep that going quarterly, and to keep bringing those healthcare entities to Martin, and keeping those partnerships alive and going. So my goal this year is to successfully produce four of them, one every season. I'm actually in the works of my next one, so I would say stay tuned for the NCREI's newsletter and LinkedIn and Facebook pages to learn more about that and what that'll entail. Um, a goal of mine is to also kick off part two of a health equity series that I started just last fall. So Talk About It Tuesday, which is a health equity series, which we pick a topic and we have a guest speaker once a month every Tuesday on Tuesdays, and they'll just sit for an hour during the lunch hour, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., and just kind of disclose what they do, answer questions from the audience, and give a brief presentation on said topic. So our first one was back in November. Actually, Dr. Professor Dix, he was our first guest to kick it off, and he talked to us about adverse childhood experiences, which went really well. There was a lot of audience interaction, a lot of Q&A, not really just a sit and lecture type of session, but really something interactive for the audience that was involved. So my goal is to keep that going into the fall. I only piloted for the spring. However, with its successes and people already asking what are the next sessions and what are the next topics, it's something that I definitely want to pilot into fall of 2023. So.
Nice. And you seem very passionate about all of these things. And what is something outside of Martin University that you could potentially be involved in within your community?
Yes. So within my community, I'm involved in food ministry. So every third Thursday of the month, I go and I volunteer at Barnes United Methodist Church with their feeding ministry. It's a drive-through food pantry where not only people in that community can get food, but they can get toiletries as well. If they have young children, there's access to diapers, wipes, etc. Those essential household items you may need if you don't necessarily get if you go to a regular food pantry. So there's that. My passion always lies within the sickle cell community, of course. I'm very active in the Martin Center Sickle Cell Initiative, which is actually kind of the cousin of Martin University. A lot of people don't know that. I've been active with them really since I was younger, and my mom was active with them as well, even to the point to where I was their child ambassador in 2016. So I definitely want to continue my impact with them as well. So a lot of my time outside of Martin is spent over with them.
So, two questions, really three, but we'll start with going backwards. So, how can somebody get in contact with this program that you're talking about, saying that we might be a cousin of this organization? How can somebody, contact them or receive any type of assistance or just information, details, things like that?
Yes, so it's as simple as a Google search. If you go and you Google Martin Center Sickle Cell Initiative, Indianapolis, they'll pop up. Their website will pop up with their About Us, the resources they provide. You can get in contact with their social worker, Miss Helen Mitchell. She's really great. And of course, she's willing to help. They provide not only food services with families who are impacted by sickle cell, but they provide transportation services as well. They also provide emergency assistance for those that may need it. Um, They also provide educational conferences throughout the year. They provide programs for younger children. Every Saturday of the first Saturday of the month, there's a monthly support group meeting, not only for those with sickle cell, but for those that just want to learn about it, or caregivers or family members who are impacted by it, which is really beneficial. So, yeah, that's how you can get in contact with them. Or, of course, because they are so closely linked with Martin University, contacting me as well. I can get you connected with the right people.
And you've mentioned a panel that takes place one Tuesday a month, and you like to pursue that the rest of 2023. How can somebody attend this? Who's invited? Who is this, invitation only? Do you have to have a link? Is this online? Is this in person? How can somebody attend this?
Yeah, so it's virtual actually, and it's open to anybody that's willing to just be educated, willing to just further their advocacy in whatever topics being mentioned. There is a link, so before a couple weeks before each and every session, what we do is we'll send the link in our weekly newsletter. It'll be provided on the NCREI's LinkedIn page, my personal LinkedIn page. It'll also be provided on our Facebook page as well. So just if you go to any one of those platforms, you'll be able to see it. Although the live sessions are recorded, they can be watched at later dates. So they are posted on our Facebook page for those who may miss that 12 p.m. time slot and they're really curious about a topic and they want to go back later and watch it and get some of their questions answered. They're welcome to do that as well.
So I am someone that was diagnosed with PCOS in 2020, and I know a lot of people don't know what that is and what that entails. How does someone go about wanting to be a speaker about certain diagnoses that people don't know about? So, for example, PCOS, and if there's somebody that's really passionate about, how they cope and how they're getting through this diagnosis, and they want to just spread information and awareness towards that, do they contact you? How do they become a guest speaker?
Yes, just directly contact me. Of course, you can remain anonymous, of course. Your name won't be out there, but just contacting me with, you know, if you want to speak, I have people doing that already. Or if you want to see a certain topic, at the end of every session, we also ask, is there any topic that you would specifically like to hear about? That we haven't covered or that you don't see listed on our advertisements. So yeah, just directly speaking with me, and no topic is off limits at all. No matter who it affects, no matter what the topic may be, it's not off limits. Of course, we're just here to educate and remain literate. So yeah.
So this is outside of just health. Could this be? I know a lot of people would like a safe space for domestic abuse or sexual assault and things of that nature. Is that open? Is that an open door for your panel as well?
Yes, of course. So it's not specific. I learned early on with what people were requesting and all the feedback we were getting that it wouldn't just be tied to health, which is perfectly fine. It's called Talk About It Tuesday for a reason. Nowhere in that title does it specifically say, health related experiences. And a lot of people don't know that health is so broad that these, experiences that we have, such as domestic violence or such as, possible home insecurities, affect our health in ways that we don't know, whether mentally, physically, or spiritually. So any topic is welcome. It doesn't necessarily have to be boggled down to what affects our physical health.
I love that. Mentioned, you just said home insecurities. I want to go back to what you do within your community and help with that, and food insecurities and how there are food deserts, and how you said you can provide Pampers and, sanitary napkins for women and just cleaning themselves. How can somebody either attend this because they are in need or donate?
Yes, so donations can be taken to Barnes United Methodist Church. It's off of 30th and MLK, out towards in the 46208 community. So right near downtown, just actually down the street from the Children's Museum. They are actively taking donations anytime during the day. Of course, I can get more information on that for those who would like it, and of course, feel free to contact me. The actual pantry service is drive through, so you don't have to go out of your car. You don't have to lift anything. You just pull up. You say how many people are in your household. You fill out a quick questionnaire, and then you pull up, and then your car is loaded with things that you may need based on how many people are in your household. And of course, it's anonymous. Like I said, there's no social media or anything. for those who want to remain as such. It's just pulling up and simply getting your car loaded, and that's every third Thursday of the month from 5 to 8.
Every Thursday, 5 to 8.
Every third
You heard
Thursday.
her. Every third Thursday.
Yeah.
That's important to know, and I think that a lot of people within our community are trying to start making a difference. I talked to Pastor Posley a couple weeks back, and he made it a point to like mention even out the holidays, people are still in need. People are
Mhm.
still in need after December and before Thanksgiving. We should have something going on for everybody that is in need year round. So I do appreciate what you're doing, what your church is doing, and all that you have going on for yourself with Talk About It Tuesdays and having a panel, and it's just open discussions for everybody. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you got started. I know that you are a person that was diagnosed with sickle cell, and I know that drives you, and that could be your why. But I know a lot of other people, they may just say that I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with it, and this is my life. Why did you want to put an emphasis on going the route of public health and doing everything that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so it actually started when I was younger. So ever since I was younger, I knew I wanted to be in a hospital somehow. You know how you're asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Most kids say a doctor. I quickly learned that that is not exactly what I wanted to do. So as I got older, I was in high school. I did different like career readiness programs and things. I realized that my passion is somewhere in the hospital. I just don't know exactly where it is. And then that's when I got to learn more about, well, I would go to my doctor's appointments and I would ask, well, what specifically do you do and how do I get here? And then that's when things kind of fall into the wayside. I don't want to be a hematologist. I don't want to be like a nurse practitioner. I don't want to do this. And then I realized along the way um, that my passion was in health service management. And within that, I could have, my hospital administration side and I could also have my advocacy side. But then as I, went through college and I started having more life experiences, I realized my heart is in the nonprofit sector of public health and specifically within serving those that have sickle cell disease. A lot of my passion comes from just being an advocate. Growing up, if it wasn't for my mom, she was my biggest advocate. um I would have been so lost. I would have had such a much more difficult time than I did growing up with my disease, whether it was in school with IEPs or whether it's speaking up at doctor's appointments or being hospitalized. An advocate is something that is essential, especially for something like that that only really impacts the Black community. And a lot of doctors aren't well versed in it, so it's like you can't expect a doctor to always know what to do when they're not disclosed to it. Sickle cell is not
Hmm.
something that's as outward as maybe leukemia or a cancer diagnosis or things of that nature, especially with it disproportionately affecting the Black community. A lot of times falls by the wayside. So my biggest passion within that is just advocacy, and I think a lot of what I do comes from that. So even not only just with sickle cell, but in my position, I try to give others a voice for said diseases, which is why I kind of started the quarterly conferences in a sense. They were inspired for those conferences I attended when I was a child.
Hmm.
That my mom went to, and if it wasn't for those conferences, my mom wouldn't have known like what to do, how to really care for me. So just kind of taking my testimony, I guess, and my purpose, and hopefully sharing that with someone else to make their journey easier, whether it's health physically, health mentally, or health spiritually, whatever I can do.
Nice. What is a common misconception that people may have for sickle cell disease?
A common misconception, even from a young age, is that those with sickle cell are drug seekers when they go to the hospital or when they go to the doctor. So historically, Black people have always had a high pain tolerance, and for those who've experienced pain from the time that they were, a baby, the older they get, of course, their pain tolerance gets higher. But sometimes that tolerance is too much, and you need to, request more pain meds or other forms of therapy. And for a doctor that isn't well versed in kind of those pain crises or the severity of that pain, they just see it as, oh, well, you're drug seeking. That's the only reason, that you're here. And then, they don't necessarily believe that that pain is really real unless, like, you're hollering, screaming, and crying with tears coming down your face. And that's not the case for everybody. People show pain in different ways. So a lot of times, it's unfortunate, and I've talked to other people that deal with sickle cell for panels that I've served on, they actually have to exaggerate how they're feeling to kind of get some sort of similarity for that doctor to realize like, oh, they really are in pain, which is unfortunate because, they're kind of stuck. Well, do I have to exaggerate or do I just sit and deal with the pain that I know I'm not going to be treated with? So that's one of the largest misconceptions that there is.
Wow, and it's really unfortunate that there's not as much research going into that as it is, like you said, leukemia
Mhm.
and other diseases that people may suffer from. But it seems like you're curing it very well, and I do commend you for that. And I know that it may not be easy at your age to try and set this panel and have such magnitude to spread awareness, but I think what you're doing is really amazing and you should continue to go. And I know that whoever is watching will be inspired. And just as your mother took you to panels, you're inspiring somebody that was your age once right now. And so I think you should continue doing what you're doing and don't stop. I feel like you have definitely found your why, and I am just interested into hearing what you have planned in the future. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh my goodness, that's such a loaded question. In 10 years, I definitely see myself still impacting the nonprofit sector of public health. I see myself keeping sickle cell, of course, as a forefront of my passion, but branching out and, being able to be that advocate for other areas. Hopefully, I see myself being seen as one of the, mogul advocates of the Indianapolis community for people. Now, as far as school goes, I'll definitely have my master's now, doctorate. I haven't thought that far yet, but I definitely see myself just continuing to elevate and hopefully becoming a prominent name in the health equity community. So.
Do you feel taking a year from undergrad into your master's has gained the experience that you were seeking?
Most definitely. So I feel like without taking that year, and I know some people are able to, just go straight through, but I felt like I needed to take a year just to, in a sense, kind of gain more experience, life experience that you don't necessarily have the time to have while you're in school. I just wanted to take a year off, not only to breathe, but I'm able to be more well versed in my community. Not even just my community. Like I said, I grew up on the west side of Indianapolis, but being here in Martin, I've become so well versed in the 46218 community in just a few months that I've been here, which has been completely amazing. So just having that time to really be more community involved, like so many people talk about, in undergrad with the textbooks and the presentations, just having the time to actually be in the community and do that has been amazing.
Nice. Well, I do appreciate everything that we've discussed. I do want to know what, as a whole, NCREI has planned or what that can look like down the line. If you want to share us with a little sneak peek, will there
Mhm.
be any more, coach practices that you'll attend? I think that was pretty cool that you all did last year. Just let me know what you guys have planned.
I would say be on the lookout for the NCREI as a whole, not just myself. Um, Being more involved in those hard hitting community entities that you see on a daily basis. And I will leave it at that.
Nice. Well, I thank you, and it looks like that's all the time that we have today. I thank you so much for joining me, Miss Camille, and sharing your knowledge and your expertise with the Martin community. I am your guest host, Auntie King, and I will see you guys same place, same time next week, right here on Let's Talk Live with Martin
Thank you.
You. Bye.
I was a little fearful when I started, but my goal was to become an attorney. I want to be that beacon of light to help them out of situations that they find themselves in and cannot afford an attorney.
With Martin being that one hidden jewel in the city, you drive past it every day, I stopped, and that chance turned into reality.
It will allow you to live out the dreams that you may not have even known were there.